Identify which room or space has the biggest impact on your day. Is it your kitchen, your living room, your drop zone? Which room, which space? And when I mean has the impact, I mean you spend a ton of time in that space. So if it's not functioning, then we got to focus in there. Welcome to the Habit Stacking Mom Show, a place for stay-at-home moms desperately searching for balance while drowning in endless toys and coffee, stuck eating the crust from their kids' PB&J. Hi, I'm your host, Jessica Perzel, wife, mama to 3 girls, and a habit stacking pro. I am dedicating this show to all the mothers that chose to pivot from their plan and instead change endless loads of laundry and diapers who may have lost themselves along the way. I know you're exhausted from working all day and accomplishing nothing at all. Let's restack your day so you can show up stronger for your family. Crush that to-do list, declutter your house and mind, boost your energy, and pick up where you left off before becoming a mother. It's time to pop in those ear pods, shake up your fizz, and let's get stacking. All right, guys, how are you? Welcome back. I'm very excited about this episode. So we talked last episode about the impact that our environment can have on us, and I really believe that this is such an important conversation. So we're going to get into it today. If you cannot tell by now, I am really big on making the needle move forward, like progress, just making progress towards something. My entire goal with this podcast is to give you moms and myself hope in this short season of our life. But hope isn't the only thing you need. We actually need a strategy or a plan. And I totally get it. I totally understand that we get hope by airing it all out to someone. We're women. That's just what we do, right? My mom always used to call it venting. We need to get it off of our chest. But we can't live there. So if you get with your friends and all you do is talk about the difficulties in your family dynamics, the kids, the husband, the challenges, the wrong, the hard, the things that aren't working, you're just living in a hopeless victim mentality that you're choosing to stay stuck. It's not, please don't get me wrong. I know you're in it. I know it freaking sucks. It sucks. It's exhausting. We're burnt out on so many levels that we literally could just use a remote control to hit pause and say, hang on, I will be right back. Like, I'm coming back. Hold on. Then you all stay right here. I take 5 minutes and I come back and I hit play again and we resume whatever tantrum we were right in the middle of, right? Can you imagine what our life would be like if we had that? But obviously that isn't our reality. So if I am going to be your new best friend, then I need to mom it to you straight. You better have someone in your life that can cut you off after a certain amount of time of venting and say, listen, so what are you going to do about it? What's the plan, right? So like I said, I like to move the needle forward. I like to talk about it for a minute and then not stay stuck in it. So I did hair for 15 years. And I can tell you I was good at doing hair, but I really became a professional therapist in the same time with no degree. And what I found is that sometimes people are more attached to justifying their story than they are interested in making change. So if you stick around here long enough, I am going to be the one that's going to give you a dose of tough love with a little bit of sugar. Because I believe that mom's biggest thing is we need to have that pressure release. We need to be able to blow off the steam. And my mom was great at that. And I believe that I got pretty good at that with my clients too, was just helping them blow off the steam that they needed to have. But then she knew how to listen and help me rescrew my head back on, calm down, and then make a plan. I'm kind of more of a verbal processor. So the more I talk, the more I kind of figure things out. And she knew that about me. So I hope to be that for you, because that's probably why podcasting has become a good fit for me, because we can talk about all the problems, but then I want to bring you some solutions and maybe hopefully you take away some better ideas than what you came to this podcast with. So we have to be able to hash it out to someone. This season is so short in our lives. It's short, but the thing that stinks about it is that when we finally do get out of it, whether it's 5 years, 10 years, depending on how many kids you have, it doesn't really matter because we all still show up at the other end where our kids are in school, they don't need us as much, and we have regret. Because now that we're not in it, we're not drowning in it anymore. I know every single one of you moms go, man, I wish. What is that wish? I wish I could have just enjoyed it more. I wish I could have been more present. I wish, I wish I just was better as a mom. And that whole new feeling of guilt comes over you. We used to have the guilt on the other end, right? But this is a different feeling of guilt. Just welcome to mom life, right? Like it's just never ending. You always feel guilty about something, right? Because we never feel that we did good enough or that we could stay present enough with our kids while we're in it. So what I want to do is I want to give you some things to think about that you can maybe apply today. If you're still in it, you can choose to let life happen to you, or you can make every single stinking effort you can so that at least you can look back and you can say, God, I gave it everything I had. Every second I had a chance to do something, I did it. I just kept giving it my all. Some of us might be ready to change, and others might just need a few moments to prepare for that change. And I'm okay with both. I'm okay with you taking your time to prepare, but just don't let that excuse of I'm too busy stop you from taking action. Busy happens. Busy is life. But at least let's make sure that even though you're busy, you're accomplishing little things that are super important. Super important. So back to the example from the last episode where we're talking about the home. We want to start setting small, achievable goals because our entire plan here, our goal is to make progress on the things that are keeping you stuck, that are making it feel heavy and hard. So where we're going to focus today is on your home. I want you to work on the habit of setting goals. So before we go any further, I want you to get out a piece of paper. And if you're driving, it's okay. Come back to this moment. We're like 6 minutes in, right? And get alone, take a second by yourself and write some of these things down because I'm telling you, these will help you so much. So what I first want you to think about are what are the essentials to your day, starting in your home. So the very first thing you're going to write down is identify. Identify which room or space has the biggest impact on your day. Is it your kitchen, your living room, your drop zone? Which room, which space? And when I mean has the impact, I mean you spend a ton of time in that space. So if it's not functioning, then we got to focus in there. So the second thing is why. Why that space? Why does that space have an impact? What is important about it? You eat there. Do you put your backpacks, your shoes, your drop zone? Is that where you're putting all the things, or is that where you're preparing for school in the morning? So why does the room you've identified have the most impact? And the third thing is what? What would change the way this room, this space would work for your day? What could you do for it to work better? Is it need to be more organized? Do you need more hooks, more storage? Do you need less clutter? Or is it like an orderly problem? We have too much stuff or not enough storage space. Is it a first room you walk into the door when you drop everything like my daughter does? What is it about this room that you could change that would make it make such a difference to your day? So regardless of the space you're thinking about today, the how-tos that I'm going to give you, the baby steps towards that larger plan of resetting your home and your environment, these 8 steps are going to be applicable to anything we're talking about. So we're going to focus on these 8 things once you've identified what the room is, why it has an impact, and what would make it better. So now that we have those things identified, we're going to focus on what we're going to do about it. So the first thing that I want you to write down for these 8 steps are how much time? How much time would the solution take to fix the entire space we just thought about? Just this one space. Okay, so for this example, I'm going to just talk about the drop zone, wherever that drop zone is in your house. Would it take you an hour, 4 hours, 2 days, a month? What time of commitment do you think it would take as a whole? Not how much you can give it, how much time would it take to fix it? Because this is an essential space. It is the essential to the flow of your day. So I'm not telling you to organize the spice rack, okay? If that's your thing, fine. But my guess is the spice rack does not have that big of an impact on your day when it's not organized. Would it be nice? Sure. But is it imperative that it's perfectly alphabetically lined up? No. So I'm talking about an essential space. How much time would that space take? So for the example of your drop zone, we're going to say it's going to take probably an hour of your time. So we're going to make a plan. That's the second thing that you're going to do. We're going to break it down. So what are the things that you can do in this space to make it better? We've talked about what would change the impact of the room. So when you're taking a look at the drop zone, could you purge the shoes, the jackets? Maybe you're going to need to make a goodwill run. What are the things that you'd like to do in that space? So the third thing is assessing the space. We are going to identify 3 things. 1, is it too much stuff? Is that the challenge where we are going to need to sell and donate because there's just too much stuff in it? 2, are there things that are just old and need to be tossed out, or they don't have a matching pair, like socks that never seem to match, right? Or the shoe has gone missing. So is it something that needs to be tossed out? Or are we dealing with an organizational problem? Meaning we're going to have to figure out how these jackets hang on the wall better. Like we've got too many jackets, so we're going to need to get rid of some, but then we're going to need to have the kids not throw them on the floor by the laundry machine, So are we dealing with an organizational problem? So you're sitting back, you're taking time here to think, okay, what is the exact problem and how are we going to tackle it? The fourth thing you're going to do is pick a day. Pick a day, either a day of the week or pick a time of the day. So if this is a project that is going to last you over the span of more than 1 to 2 hours, you're likely going to need to pick a few days. Because why? We're busy. We're drowning. We just talked about that. There's too many things on our stinking plate. So don't tell me that I need to carve out 4 hours to clean out my, back laundry room. Like I need to actually span that over a few days. So if that's the case, then you need to decide, are you going to do it on a Monday, a Thursday? Are those the days your kids are at school? Or are you home with your children all day long? Then you're aiming for a nap time or a bedtime. What's the predictability of that sleep pattern? I know that this kid sleeps the longest, right? Okay, well then that's going to be the time that you're going to dedicate 30 minutes, an hour? What is the day, the time, and how much time are you going to give that project that day? Because we've decided that this project of cleaning the drop zone is going to take you 2 hours. So guess what? I don't have 2 dedicated hours. So I'm going to give it 30 minutes, 4 days in a row. You see how we're breaking this down? So if you're going to go for this project in a big way, why? Because it's a big one and you've decided that you're going to give it 2 hours. Okay, fine. You better have a big activity then for those kids. Your big activity needs to match their big activity. Or if they're old enough, have them help you, have them sort with you if that's the project you're doing. So get them involved. But the littles, they cause more problems than it's worth. But mom, I love that shoe. Well, we can't find the other one, honey. So we have to give it to somebody, right? So if they're old enough to help and it doesn't add to your stress, then involve them. Otherwise, you better have a big activity to match your time. The 5th thing we're going to focus on is one of my favorites. It's called empty it. Okay, this is going to stress some of you out, and that's okay. If you have enough time to dedicate to it, to do a whole room, by all means do it. If not, work one section at a time. So if you're working in the back drop zone, work on the shoes first. Or if you can do the whole space, go for it. That's how I tackle things, but I understand that that's not how everyone operates. But the goal is to pull everything out of the space. Everything. If it's a drawer, empty it. If it's a cabinet, empty it. Everything. All the way, clear it off. Everything. Let me tell you a funny story real quick. A side note. My mom used to always be so annoyed. And now we laugh about it because she literally would come home and my brother and I operated the same exact way when we organized. She'd come home and the living room was loaded. Everything from our rooms was out there. Our lights from our desk, our blanket. I mean, we would pull it all out. So this technique I'm giving you has been put into play many times. And my husband doesn't love it too much either, especially when I've decided to go for it in like a 4-hour time frame. So it comes out of the room and he can attest to that. But you're going to empty this space out and clear it out. And then step 6 is you're going to clean it. Okay, so before you're going to be bringing everything back in, get a rag, spray, vacuum, whatever you need to do, wipe it down because we are resetting this space. So the 7th thing that we're going to do is really a framework for this whole process. Obviously, we've made the plan. We've taken a look at how this is going to go. We've decided when we're going to do it, and we've tackled it by emptying the space, right? We've cleaned it all out, and it's ready. Now we need a strategy because now we've got a whole bunch of stuff sitting out, right? That's no longer in a place that it once was. So the strategy is going to be the S2G2 strategy. You're going to sort, sell, give, and gone. It's a really fun and easy way for you to remember. S2G2, okay? This is going to be your item by item strategy to put the things back. So you're going to start by sorting. Each item we need to decide, is this going to be sorted, sold, given away to a friend or Goodwill, or is it gone in the trash? So you're going to sort, sell, give, or gone. So one by one, you're going to look at it and say, okay, this is an item that I'm selling. Okay, put it in a pile. Start the pile, get a box, get a bag, depending on, if you're doing furniture, you can't do that. But if you're doing like the pencil drawer, okay, then you can get little bags for garbage and you will be able to, sort through it. But you got to be bringing the stuff back into the space. So we need to remember we don't need 50 pencils, right? We need to sort through those and some of those need to be gone. Those are trash. So this is the process. And as you're doing the sorting ones, as you're putting those in the sorting pile, do you need hooks? Do you need bins? Do you need to repaint before you bring that back in? Because we need to be able to put the hooks on the wall and the wall needs to be repainted. So you're thinking about these things as you're sorting through the stuff that's going to come back into the space. If it's going to be sold, it's going to be in a pile where once you're done with this process, you're going to go post it on Marketplace or wherever you're going to sell your item, give it away because it's going to be donated. That needs to get put in a pile that's going to get loaded in your car when you're done. So these are the things that I do with the S2G2 strategy. It's really going to make things simple, and it is an item by item process. And if you do not have enough time to go through all the items, I would be very mindful of how much you empty out of each section. So that's why I said if you're tackling this in 4 hours, you probably can get through quite a bit of stuff. But if this is something you want to do in an hour, start with just one section of the room at a time and do the S2G2 through that section. And then if there's time, do another section. I hope that was helpful because that for me is like my favorite thing. I love doing that. Getting my rooms cleaned and purged is just, I love it. Not everybody does. So I hope that strategy helps you. Because one of my mentors has said to me before, if you can't keep the room clean, it means you have too much stuff. So take that or leave it, right? The last thing is 8. It is the maintenance, okay? The final step of this process is maintenance because now that we've got the room sorted, we've gotten rid of things, thrown things away, and it's been cleaned and it's been reorganized, we have to figure out how we're going to maintain it. So how are you going to keep this space clean going forward? And if you're not sure, this is where the habit stacking comes into play. I know you are all waiting for it, right? This is obviously contingent on what space you're working on, but if this is a room that we engage in every single day, then there needs to be a daily maintenance plan. For example, back to the drop zone, if this is where you're spending your time organizing, it's likely a room that you're coming in and constantly using. So it's just going to get out of order again because kids are going to bring back a whole bunch of stuff that didn't need to be there in the first place. So the drop zone needs to be reset at either the end of the day, like at night in your nighttime routine, or maybe your after school routine, because it's all based on the trigger event. And that is something I'm going to go into in a later episode. But the trigger event in a nutshell is, when did we lose control of this space? Why does it keep happening? That's your trigger event. So when are we losing control and why are we losing control are basically what that comes down to. So you need to be prepared with a maintenance plan that's going to keep this hard work that you've done, this project that you've set aside to work on outside of your normal everyday to-do loop, right? Everything you have to get done. This is not a necessity, but it's going to make your life so much easier. It's not going to happen overnight. The goal here is to not resetting your entire home. What I'm hoping you take away from this episode is that what you need to focus on is identifying those essential spaces, the ones that are in your home that are breaking your rhythms and your spirit the minute you walk into them. You already feel heavy because you just know this is the room. This is the room that I just can't get a grip on, right? So these are all the things we're talking about in the free community over on Facebook. That's linked down in the show notes. Come join us in this conversation. I love talking about these essential spaces. And believe me, you are not the only one that is feeling defeated in their home. I think so many moms struggle here, especially because we're overwhelmed. We've got way too much going on and it feels like just one more thing. But I promise you, it's not a you problem. It's a family problem. That's what Dr. Phil says. But it's a family problem because you're not the only one that lives in this space. I know that you could keep this up on your own, but when you add kids to the mix and a husband and maybe a dog, it is really difficult to keep these spaces organized. And so we need to have a plan. So come join us in the conversation and join me back here next time when we're going to dive deeper into these essential habits. Thanks so much, you guys. I hope you got a lot out of this episode. We'll talk real soon. Bye.
Well, that's it for today.
If this episode encouraged you in any way, please consider thanking me by sharing it with another mama friend who's ready to show up stronger in her life, or leave me a review right here on the podcast. And don't forget to come hang out with me on Facebook inside my free community, or drop me a DM. I'd love to hear how habit stacking has changed your daily routine. I'll meet you back here real soon. Love and life, Jess.